It's the way Singapore wakes up. Wake up, Glenn, Angel, and the Flying Dutchman.
Wake up in the morning feeling like
Kiss 92's Big Show.
Good morning, Singapore, and welcome to the biggest and best breakfast show in the world. We are the Big Show, and our guest for this morning is the General Manager of Singapore Rugby Union, Sidney Kumar. Welcome back, Sidney.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Well, it's all right. We welcome everybody. So, Sidney, today we're talking about some very exciting news that was announced last week by Edwin Tong, who is our Minister for Culture, Community and Youth. So there was an engagement session at the Singapore Sports Hub last Wednesday. Tell us what went on. Be our inside guide.
Ooh. I went in, there was all the sporting big names, and then of course you got the big guys from business as well. I think Chatri from 1FC was there.
Okay.
I was a bit shell-shocked. I was standing quite a few meters from him. So
Starstruck were you?
Yeah.
When he doesn't smile, he looks damn fierce.
Exactly.
But when he smiles, there you go.
Exactly.
That's
I felt like
the
he was going to
smile.
fire me. For no reason, I don't know.
But he's got a nice smile.
Yeah, so it was nice to see all the industry partners, right? And then you have your institutional partners. So I met my university sports officer there. You've got guys from the sports school. You've got your Olympic athletes there as well. Max was there.
Okay.
Fresh from his Olympic third placing.
So the who's who of sports was there.
Exactly. So we were very fortunate to even be there. And then, of course, we went on to Minister, sharing with us a bit more detail into what PM Wong actually touched on a bit during his National Day rally, which is all the upcoming plans for Sport Singapore.
Okay, so if anyone missed the National Day rally, what were the new initiatives that Prime Minister Wong mentioned when it
I
comes
think we need to
sports?
call each other out right now.
Call
Who did not watch PM Wong's National Day rally?
I didn't, I'll be honest.
I watched maybe the last 10 minutes of it.
That means you didn't watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I
Okay.
only caught the end, so yeah.
Yeah, you caught
I
it, of
watched the
course.
full.
Of course you
Yeah.
did. Yeah. And
I mean, I was feeling tired after the whole thing.
No, but I thought it was awesome, right? It's a fresh take. Like, usually you see a bit more stern, a bit more standard kind of approach to these kind of statements, right? But I think PM Wong tried to bring in a bit of a fresh approach.
Yeah.
So he showed photos of himself, with seniors and things like that. So it's quite interesting for me, lah.
And what I like about PM Wong is that he seems very comfortable in his role.
Always,
Right?
yeah.
It's like he's been doing this for years.
I'm
Like,
sure he's been preparing.
I
for
knew
it.
I was going to be PM.
Yeah.
But I wish he changed his wave a bit at the end. That was a Lee Hsien Loong wave.
Oh, was
He
it
should have done a Lawrence Wong wave.
Maybe there's a
like a mic
textbook,
drop or something?
There's a module they do on waving.
On waving? Yeah.
Standard wave you must follow.
That's the royal wave. Okay. Shall we
let's
continue this? Yeah.
Yes, on the Big Show TV. Up next, BB Rexa. This is Heart Wants What It Wants on Kiss 92.
What I did catch was that they're going to move the sports school to Kallang.
Yep.
So that whole area along, what is it, the BKE or SLE or something? The current
That whole
sports
school comes down, yeah.
That's a large plot of land that's going to be moving.
So that whole area, right, which is currently held by the Kallang Netball Centre, Kallang Tennis and Kallang Squash Centre.
Oh, right.
It's all going?
Yeah. No.
Oh.
That's currently what's there now.
Okay.
It's been there for years,
Yeah.
right? Even
Yeah.
before the sports hub.
Yeah.
So that whole area will be redone. A huge new sporting facility will be there, not just a sports school. So side by side, along with the sports school, all your NSA offices, which is your national sporting bodies, the entire Sport SG infrastructure will be there.
Wow.
You will have another purpose-built training facility. You will have lodging facilities as well.
Right.
So I think Minister mentioned, so it will make it more cost-efficient and easier for sports to actually host teams, host tournaments.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You know, right? So just imagine you can board all your teams there. You
They're
can
right
go to the
there.
sports hub, go to the indoor arena and play and things like that.
Makes sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Clever move.
Nice.
Makes sense.
And also they mentioned, they spoke about the Sports Excellence Scholarship, which is known as the SPECS Scholarship.
Correct.
Tell us
correct.
more about that.
The SPEC scholarship, I think, has been in existence for a couple of years now. To me, the biggest change would actually be that accessibility to more athletes. One. Second thing, I think Minister mentioned about how you want to give athletes a bit of a nest egg, right? So right now, the big issue is whether they can make sports a career. You dedicate 10, 15 years of your life, and then after that, do you have a job to go to? Do you have a nest egg? Can you buy a HDB and things like that, right? So one of the key things, I think the big change was that now there will be a CPF component
Oh, that's great.
added to the spec scholarship part. By the way, all these don't quote me. I'm just
It's in the papers, don't worry. It's all
okay,
here.
good.
It's all here.
I'm just recalling whatever I know.
Yeah.
So that CPF component would make a big difference. So after your athletes are done with their scholarship, they are able to have a bit of savings in their CPF account.
Something to show for it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So the government's going to put the money in
Exactly.
the CPF.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
At no change to the current scholarship quantum.
Okay.
Right. So it's not off the current scholarship quantum. It's on top of that.
Oh, okay.
That and it says this for athletes as well as para athletes, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Anyone under that scholarship.
Is there a figure that they're going to...
That depends.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a percentage. There's a fixed percentage for the contribution, but the scholarship quantum depends on whichever track you're on.
Right. Now, the SPECS scholarship stands for Sports Excellence
Yeah.
Scholarship
Scholarship,
for people who
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so just reading about this, 20% of the athletes' increased stipend will go into their CPF accounts, and then Sports Singapore will contribute another 17% to their CPF, so they get the 37%.
So that's good.
It's like the full amount,
It's a
isn't
full
it?
amount,
It's a
yeah.
full
I'm sure they would
amount.
rather be given the money.
No,
Actually, I think a lot of them will,
No,
will
because-
love writing on this.
no, because you get to buy your HDB flats after you're done with
Yeah.
that, otherwise you
It's
don't.
for savings, lah.
It
Right.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that you want to share with us?
I think the current initiatives, it's good that it's out in the open, right? I think previously it was a bit kept on the down low. So things like Sport SG working with universities. So I think all the local universities have, discretionary applications for athletes. They have close relationship with Sport SG. So, an athlete can go in and say that if I'm in the rugby program or if I'm in any sport program, I would need extra time to complete my degree. So rather than the usual 3 years, I can complete in 5, 4, depending on the program they're on, depending on what major games they're working towards. Right, so that makes a big difference. The SPEC scholarship also can help athletes to do a bit of modifications in terms of how they want to do their career, right? So they can do part-time studies while pursuing their training and their competition time. So all this ultimately affords more flexibility to the athletes and gives them a bit of a runway after they're done with their sporting careers.
Okay, that's
Do you
good.
think we are too soft on our athletes?
They're too soft.
Yeah.
What do you
I
mean?
mean, these days people don't talk very much about it. Like, I'm sure the Olympics or SEA Games and all that, people are disappointed, let's say, with some athletes who maybe don't achieve they don't achieve people's expectations, let's
Okay.
say. But these days, nobody says anything because they know it's not politically correct to say anything. Unlike before. Before, if like an athlete doesn't do well or our team doesn't do well or whatever, everybody comes in and says something, But these days, it's not the case. Like, for example, Max Mader, right?
Yep.
He won a bronze, right? But everyone felt like, look, he was either going to get a gold or a silver. But of course, when he comes back, it's like, thank you very much, Max. The next time, everyone is like very nice. I know it's not easy to even get a bronze medal. But, in the past, there will always be some critics saying something, But now everyone is very nice, very soft, about it.
They don't want to get cancelled.
They don't want to get
Yeah.
cancelled.
I think there's an element of that, but I think the bigger thing is about context, right? If these guys are competing in the SEA Games and they come back with a bronze or not medaling, then they may face a bit more flack,
Right.
But this is the Olympics we're talking about.
It's
Yeah.
huge.
Right. So that's the
But even training, I say if we train our athletes the way the Chinese train their athletes, then you see.
that's a
Right, not? It's like they almost topped the table, man, this year.
Yeah.
China.
Yeah.
Only at the
That's
last
very
minute the
grueling.
States go up. Oh, yeah, I mean, train our athletes the way the Americans train their athletes or the Chinese train their athletes, you know what I mean?
the athletes come out like factories.
They live, eat, and breathe. Yeah.
But it's also very brutal.
It is.
From what
It
I've heard,
is.
the
It is.
training is brutal.
It can be mentally
Yeah.
terrible.
Actually, I want to ask Edwin Tong the next time he comes, on the show, really, because he I think he's slated to come on the show soon.
Yeah.
Why are we not harder on our athletes? We need to be ruthless. I think one of the someone said that I can't remember which guy said that. Remember when Nick Fang came in
Yeah.
the last time round? We were talking about a member of one of the sports organizations or whatever. I think he was in charge. And he said, yeah, that mindset needs to change. We need to be a bit more ruthless. We need to be a bit more...
Brutal.
Yeah, and I quite
It's a killer
agree,
instinct that some of us lack, I think.
Okay, let's go on here.
Kiss 92 traffic.
In the CTE tunnel towards the AYE before the Ang Mo Kio Avenue 1 exit, look out for a vehicle that's having a little trouble. And on the TPE towards the SLE before the KPE MCE exit, an obstacle has been spotted. Not quite sure what that is, but if you do, it's 88550920.
Welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. Our guest for this morning is the General Manager of Singapore Rugby Union, Sidney Kumar, and we'll be talking about the new government initiatives that's supporting sports in Singapore. The new initiatives, very interesting.
So we have we posted this on Instagram
We've got a
yesterday.
lot of questions.
If anyone had any questions for Sydney, and there are quite a few
1,000
contributors that
Yeah,
popped
we've got a
up.
lot.
Somebody asked, "How do I get scouted for Singapore Rugby?"
Oh, yes, now we
How do
get to
I
rugby.
scouted? Let's move on to rugby. This is what you know
Yeah,
best.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
how does one get scouted?
So every sport has a bit of a high performance plan, right? And there are different entry points at different junctures. So some sports enter at 12, 14, 16, 18. So for us, I think the earliest entry point will be at 16, right? So recently we just concluded our open trials where we got everybody down on a Saturday. We've got, I think, 120 kids that sign up for national under 16s and under 18 trials. They come down, we put them through some tests, some fitness tests, some coaching assessments, some trial games, and then from there they join in to our broader program.
Okay.
We call this our Regen Sevens program, Regen for regeneration, right? So these kids, they come down. Currently, they're in their training block, so they train 2-3 times a week. And then at the end of September, they are going to Johor to compete in the Asia Rugby Under 18 competitions for boys and girls.
Okay.
So this is just one example of an entry point. Towards the end of the year, we are potentially going to have a national under 19 squad as well. And then, of course, at the senior level, we just completed our men's 15s competition, our men's 7s competition, which the players have all been picked from the clubs earlier in the year and over the last few years. They are going to compete in Korea next weekend.
Oh, nice.
The following
Okay.
weekend, yeah.
Okay.
So these
Okay.
trials you just had, do they involve women as well? The
Yes.
trials are not just
So-
for men, right?
Yeah, so the trials, I think for us, it's always a struggle, right? Because we want more girls, more women playing the sport, right? And for us, traditionally, the ladies enter at a later stage because you don't have rugby that prominently in schools, right? So rugby is all boys and all that. Yeah, so they enter at a later stage. So for this time around, the trials, we invited girls in the under 18 category.
Okay.
Right, so you have your girls from international schools, some local school girls, some girls from sports school, and all came in. So
Okay.
for us, we are trying to explore the area a bit, trying to bring that barrier to entry a bit lower and open up that group. Ultimately, giving them a longer runway to play in the national
Right.
team, play for us.
Okay, so we have Silly Bulls who came up on our Instagram and said, will there be trials for women's development team for the upcoming 15s season? Does SEUC, I don't know what SEUC is, plan to have women's development team other than the under 18s?
SEUC, I
Don't know what
it is.
SEUC, but yeah.
Yeah, but
what is that?
So, the upcoming Women's 15s program that will start September, October. We are slated to have our first national 15s local league since COVID on the 7th of September.
Oh, that's
Nice.
wonderful. That's
Yeah.
just around the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So a lot of work went into trying to get this sorted because, post-COVID, we never really fully recovered in that sense. So a lot of players stopped and, you have your entry points and all these logistical issues and all that. So 7th September, we are very excited. The Women's League starts again. I think we've got a couple of teams. And then from there, we will select our best squad to represent Singapore in the 15s competition. Hopefully, we will play a test match against Malaysia sometime in November or December. That will be just a start. And then next year, of course, it will be a wider scale program.
Okay. Sounds like exciting
I
stuff.
don't know whether you've met my boss's son Wesley or not. He is so tall. I think he looks like
Yeah.
he looks like an 18-year-old.
Yeah, he does. He looks a lot
I
older than his
can't
age.
believe how old,
I think
how
he's-
young he is.
He's like, what, 14?
14.
14.
14,
yeah.
yeah, 14.
Oh, what a tall guy, boy.
He
Oh,
is-
my
he is
goodness.
very tall.
He's going to be taller than his Uncle Glenn. Very soon.
Well, speaking of our boss, Stephen Chu, he has a question as well.
Oh, where?
Let's go
Oh, it's
on the
coming
Big
up. I
Show
see.
TV.
Okay,
yes.
it's 8:14.
Kiss 92 Time Check brought
So I think
Stephen has a question?
Stephen has a hard one for you. Can Singapore win the Asian Championship within the next 5 years?
The interesting thing is, I think we're talking about 15s, right? So 15s in Asia, it's always dependent on the structure and how the World Cup sits and things like that. So, for example, the upcoming World Cup, that's in a couple of years' time. So you've got Japan automatically qualified, and then you've got I think the winner of the Asian Rugby Championships that will get a seat in the World Cup. So that is potentially slated to be Hong Kong,
Oh,
right? But there's no reason why if we get our stuff sorted, we could be in the mix as well,
right.
right? So can you imagine we compete against Hong Kong or Malaysia, Korea in that tournament? You win, you get to go to the World Cup.
Wow.
Right? And then you finish second place, you go to a repechage tournament.
Okay.
Yeah, but all of a sudden, with that context, it's not that far out of reach. Right.
So it's possible.
I would never say impossible.
Impossible,
Cannot,
Right. So
cannot
that's-
say impossible.
Yeah, that's in the 15th game. In the 7th game, it's even more possible because the 7th game is all about athletes. It's all about that physicality and speed and the physical attributes. A lot of it is dependent on the physical attributes. Whereas the 15th game, there's a lot of other technical elements. You need to think about the set pieces, whether you have size, whether you have dominance in the set pieces, the scrums. You have position specific stuff that you need to think about. But in the 7th game, and Sport SG will tell us that a lot of it is about that physical attribute. Right, if you have a team of 7, you've got 2 super speedsters, you've got one guy that's able to do a lot of this work. That's half your team. That's able to carry
That's
you,
true.
right?
Yeah.
And that, I mean, in the Asian context, it's been done before. So you look at, I just wanted to throw this in there, the Chinese women's team. Chinese women's team, a couple of years ago, they were just playing the Asian circuit, right? Nowhere near, they barely had a rugby program. Over the last year, they basically won a couple of qualification tournaments. Now they are a core team in the World 7 Series.
Oh.
They finished, I think, top 6 in the Olympics. So in that last
Within
year,
a year.
within a year, in that last year, they got themselves in the core team. They qualified for the Olympics. They finished top 6 in the Olympics.
We got to get some of that
Fantastic.
food that they're
Okay,
eating and feed it to
exactly.
our athletes.
So if that's
Spicy
the case,
stuff.
If that's the case with the Chinese team, a question that's come up is: does Singapore Rugby have the ability, because we've been talking Asia, to be on par with Japan as of now? Because Japan is the powerhouse in Asia, basically, right?
Yeah. I think as much as I want to be hopeful, there are certain things that are different and we cannot compare in those areas. So Japan is professional program, right? So the players play professionally. They're on full-time contracts. They that's their career, right? And for us, we have athletes that come from work, come from school, come from NS. You come for a 7 p.m. training after work. It's going to make a big difference.
Okay.
Right, like currently now, a lot of the boys are at Sport SG. They are doing their gym programs on a Monday morning at 6:30. After that, they got to go to work. They got to go to school. So that specs education part, that specs scholarships, and all these programs, they make a big difference to bridge that gap a bit. And then who knows, later on things might change, and we get some of these boys and girls on that professional pathways.
Right. But the girls play touch rugby, or?
No.
No, right?
It's almost a separate sport.
Oh,
Right.
it's almost so it's not the same as the men's.
Yeah.
Okay. How different is it? I mean,
No. You're talking about touch is touch.
Yeah.
oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. It's
a
touch
different-
and
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay,
It's
got
different
it.
sport, yeah.
But when it comes to women's rugby and men's rugby, it's the same.
It's the same.
Okay,
Same
all right.
rules. Same
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at Angel. I think she can only play touch rugby. She
I-
plays real rugby. That's it. Finish.
No, I'll be done. Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. I will not be. I will
One
not
tackle. That's it.
I will not survive it at all.
The hard questions coming in on our Facebook page. How does the sporting body ensure that if students are being chosen to represent Singapore for sports competitions like rugby, that their studies won't be affected? How
This
do you, I
is,
mean,
uh,
that's up to the student, right?
I think it's not about whether their studies will be affected or not. It's about how they can maximize their potential, right, in and outside the classroom. So, like the schemes that we mentioned earlier about spec scholarships and all that, those allow the athlete, the student, to have the time and space to manage their studies and to do well on the field or in the water, on the track or whatever. Right, it's about, I think individually you look at it, right, it's about just giving the student athlete that time and space to be able to manage those things. Because I think when we think about those questions, how to manage studies and all that, we're all thinking about that one track path where it's, I must do this by 4 years, I must do my degree by 3 years, I must get out to the working world when I'm 25 and things like that. So when you continue along that path, right, it's very hard. You cannot expect medals, you cannot expect success, and then expect that student to be able to achieve good grades and everything to come in. It's too much pressure. Yeah.
So how do they do it abroad, though? I mean, do they...
Culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Culture.
I'm just wondering, right?
No,
But I mean, that's what they do at the sports school, isn't it? I mean, they study and then they have their sports.
Yeah.
But then there are others that don't go to the sports school
Yeah.
and then they have to kind of split their time up. It's a little bit harder, I feel, because they're not living within that environment where the sports already is and the studies all. It's like a one-stop shop. But the ones that have it, keep it separate, I feel that's a little bit harder to manage.
Yeah, I think it's about longevity, right? So after school, like a lot of our school athletes in school and some of the bigger name schools, right, they do well in sports, right? And if you go to your national school games, you will see all these athletes out there. But after school, almost all of them will not pursue sports as a career option or try to represent Singapore or try to go to the Olympics and SEA Games and all that. Most of them say, okay, I'm done. I did what I did for sports in school. Now it's back to the books.
Does it work like that here, that if you're not doing well at your academics, your sports is not allowed also to excel? You know how it is like in the US and all that? If you're failing at your math or your English and all that, you're kicked off the team, go concentrate on that before you can come back and do it. Is that like that here as well? I mean, is that encouraged to do well at both?
At the school level, I think that happens quite a bit.
Okay.
So you hear of school kids, athletes that are not able to participate or represent their school in the national school games because of academic issues or discipline issues. And I think that's fine, because at the school level, you really want to build that discipline foundation and all that. But at the tail end, I think the US example that you're mentioning, it's a lot of these college athletes who need to fulfill their GPA.
Correct.
That's
Because
right,
they're so talented, but then they're not
But
really
a lot of them
academically
are,
inclined.
a lot of them are on scholarships and all that. So I think currently we don't have that kind of pressure. So it's again back to that, giving the athlete the time and space, because we are fairly certain of these athletes in their academics and all that. So things like the spec scholarship, spec education stuff, give an athlete a 3-year degree, you complete it in 5 years.
Okay, so they're given time
So
a little bit more.
Take a bit of time, because there's that assurance that the things will be done in a certain way, and you give the athlete then the time and space to go and train and to compete.
Okay.
Sometimes I just feel like we're not serious.
About sports?
Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, I get it.
I mean, it's okay
you
to
do it
have
for a
these
little
new
while and then,
initiatives and all that, but I think we should get a bit more serious.
There's like no... I feel what you're saying, because I feel like maybe there's no longevity. You spurt for a bit, do really well, and then somebody just falls off the face.
Like we want to really see significant improvements.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Growth in that.
But we don't really see that.
No, I get what you mean, yeah.
And we would love to like give, and I shouldn't say we would love to. We give our athletes and associations and organizations time. It's okay, because it's almost like we're not really expecting that
too much.
You know what I
No,
mean?
it's true, and I think that stems from all the sports. From your football down to the rugby to swimming. When somebody doesn't perform, we're kind of like, okay. So what?
once again, when Edwin Tong comes into the studio, I'll be asking,
There's
sir,
a
We will
checklist
ask.
of questions being added.
Yes,
all
yes.
in the head.
How serious are we? You know what I mean? Or can we be as serious as Taylor Swift coming to Singapore the
No.
last time?
Hang on.
Kiss 92 traffic.
Look out on the PIE heading towards Tuas because a vehicle's having a bit of trouble after Upper Jurong Road. Wherever you are this Monday, please stay safe.
All right, welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. We've been having a wonderful conversation with the General Manager of Singapore Rugby Union, Mr. Sidney Kumar. Once again, thank you so much, Sidney, for taking time off and being with us this morning.
Yeah, we want to do a little shout out to the Damai boys.
Oi.
Oh, why do you say oi? Well, tell us why your reaction like that.
When you hear Damai, you don't think it's a big rugby school, right?
Uh-huh.
Right. Currently in the national team, we have 3 Damai boys. They came up through the ranks. They worked their way. I think 3 of them all are in NS now.
Okay.
And they are pretty talented. I hope they don't hear too much of this.
They don't want their heads to get too big.
They're young. They're in the early 20s. I think they could be the future of Singapore rugby.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If they play their cards right. But yeah, it's a good story to tell.
Nice, nice.
Must continue to be hardworking, okay, boys?
Yeah, good morning, boys. Okay, anything upcoming on the rugby calendar? Any new programs?
Oh, many things. Like I mentioned, the Regen program, we're going to compete in the Asia Rugby Under 18 competition at the end of September. That will be the first time again since COVID, right? And then the women's competition, women's league, and then that will hit all the way till October, where we are scheduled to try to arrange a test match with Malaysia sometime in November. November we'll see our national league start. And then, of course, every November we have the Singapore Cricket Club International Sevens. This year is a big year because it's the 75th edition. So it's going to be a big weekend at the Padang. I think that's on the first weekend of November.
Nice,
right?
nice.
So you can again head down and watch some fantastic rugby action.
Can't believe it's been almost a year since we last had this conversation.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a while.
So quick.
Yeah.
All right.
That's crazy.
Anyway, thank you very much, Sidney, for joining us. I know you're busy. You're about to move on to our sister station for another interview. Probably you gotta repeat everything that you said on the show.
No, it's a pleasure.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank
We'll
you.
definitely invite you on the show again, for updates, and maybe the next time sitting next to you will be a minister or something.
Oh, no
Oh,
pressure.
that'll be a
pressure.
good one.
No pressure.
Okay.
Thank you, Sidney.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.